Today, we will be talking about the Alexander Mosaic, which depicts the first encounter between Alexander the Great and King Darius III. This encounter was called the Battle of Issus in 333 BC. During Alexander's conquest in Asia, he travels past the city of Issus, where he plans to meet up and stop the advancement of a Persian counterattack. During this conquest, the general of the Persians, Memnon, had died from illness, and so Darius had decided to go and lead the advancement himself. 7 miles from the city of Issus, the two armies met. They stood parallel to each other, closed off on both sides by the Mediterranean Sea on one and a mountain range on the other. From a glance, you would predict that the Persians would easily win, having 100,000 troops against the 15,000. But the battle was anything but easy for the Persians. Alexander's plan was to pin down Persian forces with infantry to create open gaps within the Persian forces. After some problems with the Macedonians asserting themselves on the Persians, Alexander saw an opening that led straight to Darius. Alexander had a clear chance to kill Darius, whom was beginning to turn his chariot around to flee from the battlefield. But instead of chasing after him, Alexander turned back to aid his troops as the Persians were beginning to close in on the Macedonians. In the end, Alexander had won the battle with the rest of the Persian army retreating. Alexander had captured an entire treasury which he would use to pay his troops, and also Darius' wife and mother and other Persian nobility, including a woman named Barsine, whom he would later marry. The picture shows Alexander storming in at the head of his troops from the left edge, attempting to engage Darius in battle. But the Persians have already turned to flee with only his eyes directed towards Alexander. Despite being damaged, the two main figures are easy to recognize. The person on the left with the long wavy hair is Alexander, as you can see in this bust made of marble that is currently in the British Museum. You can tell who Darius is because he is riding the royal chariot and his thick bushy hair and beard is seen in this bust. The portrait of Alexander is one of his most famous. Alexander's breastplate depicts Medusa, the famous Gorgon, and his wavy hair is typical of royal portraiture as established in Greek art in 4th century BC. He is portrayed sweeping into battle at the left on his famous horse Bucephalus and focusing his gaze on the Persian leader. Darius is shown in a chariot. He seems to be desperately commanding his frightened charioteer to flee the battle, while stretching out his hand either as a mute gesture to Alexander or possibly after throwing a javelin. He has a worried expression on his face. The charioteer is whipping the horses as he tries to escape. The Persian soldiers behind him have expressions of determination and consternation. Nevertheless, the overall effect of the mosaic is masterful. The expert blending of the colors on the tesserae and the colorful control of the overall composition create a scene which comes to life with all the horror and confusion of the battle. Truly, one of the greatest works of art in human history.